So, Cecil, what were your thoughts on that new Child's Play reboot?
I'm new and improved.
The hell you are.
Holy crap.
Hey everyone, welcome to the horror show. I'm Cecil Laird.
I'm Jaime Fuego.
And we are here to do our review of 2019's Child's Play reboot thing.
Yeah. Should it have been called Child's Play?
This is going to be interesting, guys. So, we did a rewatch and review series of the entire Child's Play series leading up to this, as well as 3 different episodes on Chucky comic book series, some of which you can see over to Fuego's left there, just behind him. And then we also did the VR experience for this new Child's Play movie. Needless to say, I was hyped as hell for this. And one of the things I gotta say is that I was warring with myself almost the entire movie, because I was like, you gotta like this, you gotta like this, you gotta like this. Like, look at what they're doing. They're doing something different, and they're doing exactly what you predicted they would be doing.
Yeah.
Literally. And granted, it's not that hard to predict, but literally everything, if you go back and watch our trailer reactions, there's a scene from the very first trailer when there's people running about a toy store, and I'm like, oh, well, this is clearly what's happening here. And that's clearly exactly what was happening there. And I was like, well, here's what might happen with the doll itself, and that is exactly what happened with the doll itself. And
I leaned over to Cecil at 3 separate occasions throughout this film, and I was just like, oh, dude, it's just like you said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so I don't know if maybe I don't know if it's maybe the trailer reactions kind of ruined the experience for me a little bit.
Maybe, and to give a shout out to Cody Leach and the fact that, he's like, I hate trailers, I hate watching them.
I can understand
there's
why
a lot
now.
Of
Like,
to that, man, yeah.
So again, we'll do this review like normal. We'll give our overall thoughts, then we'll talk about the story, the acting, definitely the effects, definitely the sound and the music. But yeah, my overall thoughts were I didn't like it as much as I wanted to. It's not a bad movie, but I don't think it needed to be. Here's the thing. I don't think it needed to be the reboot of the Child's Play actual property, but at the same time, it is a logical evolution via remake. If there's going to be a remake, you want it to be different enough to be considered its own kind of thing. And this is the first movie that has really done it different enough to make it like an actual remake worth being made because of the differences. But it just wasn't executed as well as I was hoping it would be executed, as I guess the long and short of how I want to put it. We'll dive into it, but it just wasn't executed the way I was hoping it would be executed, I suppose.
Biggest problem with this is that it uses the Child's Play name, because I actually like this movie. It's not great, but I like this movie. It had no business using the name Child's Play. It was basically
outside of names of characters.
It was riding on the coattails of an IP. It was using that to get more people into seats, which I think is going to work to its disadvantage. It's not going to provide positive word of mouth. It's going to make people hate it.
Some people will give it positive word of mouth. I think there are going to be some people that walk out of that theater much happier than us, especially younger people that aren't as attached. But still, they're going to be more enthusiastic about it than you even said. Upon the rewatch of the series, you kind of understood why the first 3 are as liked as they are.
I understand the sanctity and why people hold them in such high regard. It's not one of my favorite properties, though, even after the rewatch, but I appreciate it more. It's not a favorite of mine. It doesn't have that childhood connection, and so maybe that's not why I'm going to be as judgmental with it, because I liked all of the different things that they did with it. I liked the skewering of Amazon and how, Siri has to control everything in your home.
Well,
and all
technically,
this stuff.
Amazon is Alexa. Siri
okay,
is
Apple,
Apple,
whatever. I mean, you want these
I'm
devices...
just actualing you before the commenters can.
All right. If you want something to control your entire home and, the locks to your house and, your music selections and all this other shizzle, I mean, for God's sake. But
it made sense, but
it did. it
done
did
as well as I was hoping it would be.
Well, it wasn't. It wasn't.
It was
And
so
I don't
on the
think,
nose. Everything was so on the nose.
But I don't think you would have been hoping it would have been done so good if not for the fact that you have such an allegiance and affinity for this property, and that's where the IP is going to really hinder the hardcore fans from appreciating the stuff that I think that it did well. I felt like predominantly performance-wise, and we'll get into that, was good. I felt like story wasn't that bad. I didn't hate this movie. That's like, I was the total opposite of you. You walked in.
No, I didn't hate it.
Well, I mean, you walked in being like, please be good, please be good. I walked in being like, please don't suck, please don't suck, and it didn't suck.
That's true.
So,
we are sort of the optimist and pessimist of Child's Play viewers.
Yeah. I had fun.
My glass was half full. Your glass was half empty.
Totally half empty. I walked in not expecting much, and I liked it. I did, but it's not.
That actually might make for a really good and balanced review. We'll see.
Yeah. It's not that great of a movie, but it's not terrible, which is what I was worried it was going to be. Total crap, and it's not.
And this question, or this movie, did answer the question. Well, we'll get into it in the effects. Story. Well, let's go to story. Yeah. But so okay, here we go. Story. It is very, very similar to the original Child's Play.
You so called the twist, though. You so called it in one of the reactions.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you mean how things were going to happen as opposed to
how they were
whatever?
how they were going to go about not having the supernatural aspect. Because is that something we should? Well, maybe not.
I mean, just outside of the fact. I mean, in the trailers you saw that there's not much of a supernatural aspect. That is true. There's not much of a supernatural aspect.
Because in the original Child's Play, it
was
voodoo.
Like
voodoo and all that. It's not here. This is its own thing. It is.
But again, that's what
where they lost.
That's what builds the wall under the argument that it shouldn't have been a Child's Play movie at this point.
Exactly.
It could have been something else entirely.
Which I continue to clamor for.
But nonetheless, okay. So the story, yes, it is about Andy Barkley and his mom Karen. His mom is a single mom who has a pseudo relationship with a guy that makes her son uncomfortable, and her son. They've just moved into this sort of new area, and he doesn't really know that many people. She's encouraging him to go out and meet people, but he's kind of an introvert.
It was still Chicago, right?
I believe so.
I totally got the vibe it was still Chicago, yeah.
So, meanwhile, it turns out that this company, Kazlan, who is the sort of Amazon that has their thermometer, that has their TV, that has their drone, that has everything and anything under the sun, is produced by the Kazlan Corporation, including the Buddy line of dolls. And so this Buddy doll can, interact with any and all of these things, and they say right off the bat that it will imprint on you and you'll be his best friend. And there's something wrong with this particular doll that happens into Andy and Karen's life that is different from all the other Buddy dolls out there, and that's part of the problem for me. To be honest with you. Yeah, I didn't like the way the story was laid out in this because I don't feel like there were enough stakes that were set up.
Not initially.
There was there was enough of an interesting thing. This is just I mean, essentially it's, I don't want to say what it is because this is going to be a non-spoiler review. We're going to record a separate spoiler review. This is
where it's going to be really
tough. Yeah, we gotta walk the line, but because you're mine. He imprints on Andy, and it's basically what I called he wants to protect Andy no matter what from harm. And unfortunately, it became clear to me that it was going to be a bit of a rushed thing. I felt like the original Child's Play took its time and developed the whole thing a little bit better than this one did.
Only being about 80 minutes.
Yeah, it still felt like it took its time more than this one did, which felt a little bit rushed because they were trying to squeeze different things. Again, they tried to bill it like it was going to be this sort of the kids teaming up against, Chucky thing.
It is kind of.
I mean, come on, but so there were just issues. I had a lot of issues with the story, you guys. Again, I'm skirting around the spoilers, but I don't think that it was as well crafted. Yes, they did away with the supernatural aspect, which some people may have had a problem with, but I felt like that actually gave Chucky a story in the original one, whereas he doesn't have much of a story in this one. It's very basic, very surface level, very puddle deep. And so I was not, and so Chucky imprints on Andy, and he starts to, go a little bit overboard when he starts to see people as threats to Andy. Exactly what I predicted was going to be the case in the trailer reactions. Which I'm not alone. I'm not saying I'm the only one that predicted this.
Yeah,
but
which you did. I actually liked the route that they approached with it because it was totally different, and I thought that it was pretty fleshed out. I felt that it was kind of like the whole deadly friend aspect, and I point back to that Wes Craven film all the damn time.
I still can't believe I haven't seen a Wes Craven movie.
Well, because of the fact that it's a robot that has like misprogramming, and yet it still has an aspect of care despite its urges to kill, which is what we had with this robot, and the fact that it's really protecting Andy at the end of the day. And you do get the vibe that despite its misplaced and just attentions and intentions and stuff like that, it does care about him. It just gets everything like, I don't know, it's all short-sighted and misguided, as things kind of trail on and stuff like that. And I don't know, I bought into their relationship for the first third or so of the movie. I didn't necessarily like the whole kids against the robot aspect. I didn't like the whole reprogramming aspect and everything. That's the thing. The original 80s film was very simple, and it really didn't try to do too much. This was very busy, and it did, in about 90 and some change, try to squeeze in a bunch of different things, including aspects from the original movie, including we still have a detective named Mike, we still have names of characters and stuff, but everything else was changed, obviously, massively altered, but I didn't mind it. This is just where I feel like using the Child's Play name with how far they changed it. That's where it's really going to piss people off. But no, for that reason, I did not like the changes, but I understand why a lot of people are going to have some major issues with them because of the fact that it's called Child's Play, for God's sake, when it probably shouldn't be called Child's Play. If it was just a commentary about, modern technology and all of these other things, I feel like it just, I don't know, it wouldn't be under the same microscope of scrutiny as this movie is totally going to be, for that sheer fact.
It might very well be, and I don't know, some people may think I'm being unfair, but no, I'm not. I'm not judging it based... No, it's not even that. I'm not judging it based on the original. I'm judging it based on what it was. It felt rushed. It felt like I didn't get the investment in the characters that I was hoping to get. There wasn't as natural a progression of characters as they go throughout. Like, one of the things that I absolutely loved in the original was that the story was basically driven by Karen more than Andy. Oh, yeah. And Karen finds out pretty early in the movie that Chucky's real. And that's the big part of the movie.
I love that scene.
Things are done differently in this movie, and I think it loses something as a result of it. I think it's not as interesting, it's not as engaging. I even mentioned in our review of the original that was one of the things I really loved, and I think there's an aspect of that missing in this movie. And so anyway, let's get into the acting. I don't want to harp on it for too long, and there's more I can talk about, but it's spoilerific, so we'll hold off.
We'll get to it.
So the acting, though, I really liked Aubrey Plaza a lot, although she was given a pretty one-note role to play. I mean,
I always like her. I mean, come on, I've made this well known. But,
I know, but
yeah, but I mean, yeah, she's not really. She's just kind of diddling with the one guy, which actually really reminded me of the Critters Shudder show, where
you're not wrong.
A little bit, yeah. Which I thought was kind of funny.
With that mom character. Uh-huh.
Yeah, totally. But really, I like the kid who played Andy. I thought the slightly aged Andy was solid. Not as good as the kid in 3, obviously, who's kind of maybe a little bit older age range.
Oh, much older. From Child's Play 3?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he was much older.
Maybe 3 years.
No, I think he's intended to be much older than that. At the military academy?
If he's in the military, high school, though.
Probably 5 years older at least, I would think.
I would disagree.
Nonetheless, it's a completely pointless argument.
Okay, it is. Yeah, difference of opinion.
Yeah, it's so the
Hamill. How much did you like Hamill's voice?
Yeah, we need to talk about that.
I think that's the biggest thing, really.
Hamill was Chucky, and
I felt he was underserved, man.
I think he was too, but I also think that the Chucky voice, while good, it's just not as iconically striking as Brad Dourif's was, which, again, I know I'm comparing them, and I shouldn't be doing that, but the problem is, I've heard Mark Hamill in so many things, and he does so many interesting characterizations and other things. You know, especially even like in silly things like he played a character on the How to Train Your Dragon TV series, and he had a bit of a twist on a gruff sort of thing.
What the
and like
twist?
I know what he can do, and this felt like it might have been easy for him. Like
This
it
was
wasn't
restrained, dude. I don't even.
It was
think
totally restrained. This was just Joker when he's not being over the top Joker in the Arkham Asylum games.
Yeah, I was gonna say
All the way down to his singing.
Even when he went evil, it didn't really feel like the difference between. I mean, we have the "Hi, I'm Chucky," and then we have the "Hey,
Yeah.
kid," blah
No.
blah blah. You know,
He was the same.
There was not that
Same tonality.
dichotomy
I
between
agree.
the two, which was one of the biggest mistakes they made in this. They
They made that dichotomy the eye color.
They didn't let him go full
That was
Joker.
all it
Yeah,
was.
That was the
it
calling.
was blue
that was
eyes
the calling.
okay, red eyes bad.
Yeah,
And it's
red
like,
is the
that's
calling
not
card, yeah.
interesting.
Don't slow
That's
it
not
down.
interesting. And
Because red means good.
oh, we're gonna have to talk about the doll at some point. Okay, let's get back to the acting.
Acting, but I mean, you know, there really isn't. I mean, he has these two friends that he makes the indie kid, and they're okay enough.
No, they're not. No,
I
they're
think they're
not.
okay enough.
No, they were. It's not that they were bad,
Fallon
but
and whatever the hell the other
Huck
kid's name
or
is.
whatever the. It might as well have been.
Pug
Hi,
or
my
Puck?
name is Puck,
Pug
and
or
I like
Puck
to.
or
Yeah,
something like that.
it was Pug.
Puck
and,
and Fallon.
Who cares?
I knew a girl
is
named
is what their
Fallon.
names are. Who cares one and who cares two? Because they weren't given enough time to actually develop a relationship that I cared about with
This
Andy.
one's for Tupac.
Oh my god, so dumb! So dumb! Like, why are you gonna have a remake in 2019 that one of the main jokes is a fucking Tupac joke?
Whoa.
Tupac's been dead for over 20 years!
There's our F word for the video.
Why? That's our PG-13 moment. Why the hell is Tupac a main joke?
I
That's
laughed.
for all the people that watch the original Child's Play.
I laughed when he said it, though. Ah.
But no one else is gonna get it. Oh, it's so dumb. All right, so
I have to make mention that this was written and directed by a completely unproven team, and it just leads me to believe the fact that MGM realized that there was going to be this slight lapse in rights where they could make something. You know, Universal is still working on their television series, and MGM possesses the rights to the original movie, 1988. And so for that reason, they're just like, okay, let's go ahead with our own thing. Let Mancini do his own thing. And the guy who directed this, he also directed Polaroid. Still hasn't been
still haven't
released.
seen that. No,
Yeah,
people
it's his
can
own-
see
it's
it on
his
a
own-
VPN. I know
It's
that.
his only other movie.
Um,
Yeah. And
so-
the writer has done nothing.
well, let's
So-
finish the acting though. So there was the cop Mike. I actually liked him,
I liked him
but
too.
his character was given very short shrift in the movie. He was cut off at the knees, so to speak. Like it.
Not literally. We're not spoiling it.
I mean, yeah, we're not. But nonetheless, he didn't get as much time to play as he should have. Aubrey Plaza didn't have as complete an arc as she should have. Andy didn't even really have as complete an arc as he should have. Like they again, like you said, they tried
Did
to do
anybody?
so much in this movie that they didn't really give anything time to breathe and
Not
really
really.
get you to really absorb it in a really meaningful way.
Not in about 90 minutes, yeah, with all these additional characters.
I'm
and
like
stuff
I'm
like
pacing
that.
myself.
No, and you're good. You're ready to just let those floodgates burst for the spoiler review.
Like
so
I
stay tuned for
I
that.
didn't think that I didn't like it as much, but the
Oh,
more
but the
that I
more
think
discussion
about it,
and
the
the
more
more thought.
discussion we
Oh.
do, it's just frustrating me. So okay, let me switch gears and talk. Let's talk about something good
Music.
that I really yes.
Yeah, the
the
music.
score
Yeah.
is phenomenal.
It really
I
is.
absolutely
Bear McCreary,
love the
man.
score. Bear McCreary.
McCreary.
McCreary. He has done some music for The Walking Dead, amongst other things, and I absolutely love this score. This is the kind of score that you could kind of put in any sort of playful thing. It could have been a score for Annabelle, could have been a score for Puppet Master,
True.
but it fits perfectly with Child's Play. And I actually like that all of it is basically a reprise of this song that the Buddy Dolls sing in the movie. So it's very interesting to me. I absolutely love the music of the movie. And admittedly, I listened to the score once or twice, maybe 3 times before going into the movie.
13.
No,
times.
not that many times. No, really,
We were
truly
listening
not that
to
many
it right
times.
before we watched
We
the
were
movie.
listening to it right before we watched the movie. But I can get into that stuff, and I absolutely love the Bear McCreary score.
I think it's great too. Yeah, definitely great. Although in your third correct prediction as to when certain things would transpire as far as the sequence
There's a song in the soundtrack that happens early in the soundtrack. I'm like, I guarantee. But I guarantee. I was like, this is going to be in the closing credits, and it was the closeout song in the closing credits. So
at the very end, like
I
called
said,
it to a T, good sir. When a movie is predictable.
Maybe that's my problem because of the trailers and because of the score. And
how many predictable horror movies do you see
every year? I mean, a lot.
Because you love
It's because of this damn show. It's because of you guys that I am able to predict this stuff because I watched so much for this freaking show that. Okay, look, now it sounds like I'm blaming the audience. Forgive me. Let me rein that back in. Whoa, hey, bring it back. No, I'm not blaming you guys by any stretch. I'm saying that I watch and absorb so much horror that when I watched the trailers, it was very apparent to me what was going to be taking place, and I ended up being right on so much that it might have definitely taken away from my enjoyment of the movie.
Definitely.
That's not to say that you guys won't enjoy it, but I think we should segue into the effects and say that I freaking hated the doll, dude.
You look terrible, man.
I did not like it at all, and I was one of the ones going, give it a chance, don't judge it till you see it, Well, guess what? I've seen it, I'm gonna judge it. I don't like it at all. There's even a scene, without spoiling anything, there's even a scene that feels like it's the filmmakers making fun of their own goddamn doll because they're trying to make it look scary, and they can't do it. Like, I did not like the doll. He was so bad.
He's terrible, man.
It was so bad. And the puppeteering in this movie is worse than the puppeteering in the first Child's Play movie in the 80s.
And that's because I felt like it was almost puppeteering in this as opposed to animatronic, which it probably was animatronic, but I mean, that's the thing. It's like
do it.
The movements, just take it out,
Charles. Do it again. Just
I'm
one more
gonna
time.
get you right
You
now
missed the
and put
first
you
time.
out of your
Just one
misery.
more time. You grazed me before.
Just stop.
Just do it.
Stop your bitching and die over it.
All right. Go ahead.
No, the thing that I have to say, man, is that the movements were so wooden from this and that. Were so wooden. Although he's probably made of plastic. So what the hell am I saying? But I mean,
he was a mini Five Nights at Freddy's doll. God damn it, that's what he was.
Yeah,
and I called that a long time ago too. I was like, he's just gonna be like a Five Nights at Freddy's animatronic going.
Yeah, but the problem was he
I'm not
moved
trying to say I predicted everything.
He moved so no. I was
so
the one.
Frustrating.
I was the one who proclaimed that my dude here, who is it's so enamored with this series, predicted all of the big beats and a few other smaller little things as well. But man,
my own knowledge worked against me.
The stiff movement of this doll design was terrible. So much so that when we finally got some CGI movement in the third act, it looked so awful. Like in the third act, where you saw this fluid, fast movement, it looked awful.
You can't.
Absolutely awful.
No, the CG.
It just didn't contain that continuity. It didn't maintain the consistency in that regard.
CG Chucky doesn't work when you're not using a CG Chucky the entire movie.
True. Yeah.
It just doesn't work. It just doesn't work.
And honestly, at the end of the day, because of that fact, neither looked good. Although they used the CG sparingly, I will give them
very
that credit.
Sparingly.
It's
maybe 3 shots.
It's not till he starts moving.
But they're
quick
very
and trying
key
to,
fucking
and trying to
shots.
kill people. Yeah.
Pardon my French again.
In the toy store, one in particular in the toy store, I was just like, oh, that looks bad. It's really bad. So, I mean, set design. I guess
I wanted to like it so much.
I actually like some of the cinematography. I'm wondering if it's actually filmed in Chicago again, because everything is filmed in Canada now. So I would imagine it was not filmed in Chicago like the first film was, and I think at least 2 was, and then some of 3.
I feel like I enjoyed the VR experience more than I enjoyed the actual movie. I felt more immersed in that toy store than I felt in the toy store in this movie. That's a bold
declaration.
Am I wrong? You were into it too.
I wouldn't say that.
I just enjoyed that because I was genuinely, I'm like, oh, buddy stuff here, buddy stuff there, and I'm in it. This time, by the time we got to that scene, I'm like, all right, let's see what happens. Like, it was...
It's not a very good movie, but I didn't hate it.
I just wanted to like it so much more than I did. I really, really did.
I wanted to hate it so much more than I did. So there is our dichotomy, everybody. There you go.
Now I blame you. It's the energy you brought that ruined my movie.
I'm sorry.
No. So okay, but there's here's the thing. Segue into the other part of the effects. The gore. There was a lot of gore. It actually earned its R rating.
There was one in particular with the Christmas lights and I
actually didn't think that one was that great. I didn't think any of them were that
You
great,
like the
to be
Jack
honest
Black
with
look-alike? No, honestly, there
you. No,
wasn't.
I didn't think any of them
honestly,
were that great.
there was
They were
not
all
very-
derivative of things that we've seen before in
but-
various movies.
Yeah, but honestly, I
One
would
thing
never,
was done better than it was done in Leprechaun Returns. I will say that.
I would never say Gore is good in any Chucky movie like ever, except for when Chucky himself gets sliced up and half of his face ripped off like with your doll.
yeah.
That was always the best Gore in any of the Chucky movies, was when Chucky himself is getting torn up and you realize, oh, he is human, or like turning human, so to speak. And they didn't carry that aspect over at all because he's not voodoo, so yeah, guess not. Now I'm wondering what beat you're referring to.
We'll talk about it in spoilers.
Spoiler.
So, I don't know. Is there anything else? I think that might be enough
I haven't
to
watched
talk
Leprechaun
about.
Returns, so yeah.
Well, the people that have seen that know that there's a kill in there. That's a good idea, but the way it's executed is so ridiculous, and this one actually did it kind of well.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to spoil what that is until it's the spoiler section.
Tell
So
him to get well,
that's
Chuck.
going to do it for our non-spoiler review of Child's Play. Guys, look, if you like the movie, I don't begrudge you at all. I'm glad. I'm very glad. And my dislikes, again, I'm stressing, my dislikes aren't based on comparing it to the original.
It's pretty okay.
I just didn't like a lot of the things about the movie, namely the goddamn main character, Chucky. You gotta land Chucky if you're gonna land a Child's Play movie, and they did not land Chucky to me.
So he was not your friend till the end, sir.
You're fired.
Good night, Andy.